I really can't hold the thunder much longer. Joe, your thoughts on Tom and Jerry?
Oh man, where do I start? I'll do you one better when it comes to like I have a better idea. Like rather than making a Tom and Jerry series, you had the blueprint right in front of you, Warner Brothers. If you would have just looked to the table to your right with Looney Tunes, um, they literally rebooted the Looney Tunes as an HBO Max exclusive series, and it's actually a pretty damn good exclusive series. So why the
Nice.
hell didn't you just actually do the same with Tom and Jerry? Instead, you went out here and you made your abomination. I know Steve is standing on the table for them, man, and it's like, yeah, the movie's
I'm
not.
not. I'm by
No,
default.
no, I know. By default, you're just on the table, and I know he said it's not as bad as that 1999 movie, and by God, it is not. But it's like the writer said, I bet you we can get close. um,
Cap.
th-
Cap.
this movie, this movie is everything like I didn't want it to be. It focused on the human characters more than Tom and Jerry. It reused nearly every joke from Tom and Jerry cartoons. Like before this movie came out, like the one thing I was watching on HBO Max before I went to bed, I woke up, ate cereal, like I almost said the F word, but I want to save it for later, or maybe Dom can use it. When I was a 7-year-old, it's like I would sit there and eat cereal and just watch Tom and Jerry in the morning. And it's like I still do that now with HBO Max when I'm eating cereal. It's like I'll tune that on and Fresh Prince of Bel Air, and that's my morning every time during this pandemic. And it's like I just remember I'm watching this movie. I'm like, that is literally from this episode. That's from the episode where they went to the beach and Jerry does this to Tom. That is the episode when Tom is trying to impress that white cat and Jerry does this to him. I'm like, oh my god! Literally every gag in this movie is taken from the cartoon. And the worst part is about these gags is that they just do not hit the same because the one thing this movie is missing is those sound effects, man. The sound effects and music carry Tom and Jerry to a whole new level of entertainment. When you're watching Tom and Jerry run around and like the orchestrated music is playing along to Jerry's movements, then Tom's movements, and then eventually like, you get the loud like sound, like that thing always cracks me up along with Tom's like scream, like that's iconic. You never get those sound effects here. It's not like I needed those, but it's just like, man, the slapstick does not have that same weight in this film at all. It doesn't even feel roughly the same. And maybe it's because we don't see Tom and Jerry like that much throughout the film that when we do get it, it doesn't even feel like anything at all. Um, but yeah, man, I mean, the worst part about this is that it feels like this. If you guys have been keeping up with Tom and Jerry at all, I do because I have little cousins that love to watch their movies and everything. Um, and so one day they decided to rent from Redbox Tom and Jerry and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and I watched it with them. And it's literally Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but like every 5 minutes, Tom and Jerry show up, slap the shit out of each other, and then leave the scene. Like you're just watching the movie Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but with Tom and Jerry showing up. And what this movie feels like, it feels like what they're doing with those movies, where they did one too, where they meet they do Wizard of Oz, but Tom and Jerry show up as well. Um, it feels like Warner Brothers had an idea for like a kids movie starring Chloe Grace Moretz as she goes to a hotel and with Michael Pena there and everything. And it's like a Warner Brothers executive was looking at the script. He's like, "This is good, but we should throw Tom and Jerry into this movie. That'd be a great idea." Because that's what this movie feels like. It's like Chloe Grace Moretz. It's like she's a horrible main character. First of all, she's a character that we're supposed to feel sorry
Oh.
for. That she no, I like hold on. Let me say this. She's a character that's like, oh, I'm down in my luck. I can't find a job. She literally cons a woman out of her job that she's totally qualified for, and Chloe Grace Moretz isn't qualified for. And she like takes a position, lies about it, gets another person fired from their position or like on temporary leave. And it's just like, this person's a horrible human being, man. Why the hell would I want to root for her? And it's like, of course, by the end of the movie, she's supposed to have the complete turnaround, like, oh, I realized what I did was wrong. Through the events of Tom and Jerry beating the ever living hell out of each other, I've learned that this is wrong. And it's like, it's such a last minute, like, oh, this is, like, what I did was bad, and we need to turn this around. And don't even get me started on the whole wedding plot line of this movie, man. Like, it is a waste of time. You have SNL alum, not alum, but SNL cast member Colin Jost come in here, and I love him on Weekend Update. I think he's one of the better things about modern SNL nowadays is that he's actually pretty good on Weekend Update. I thought he sucked in this movie, man. He has this whole running gag with drones and how like they're part of the future, and his wife and him who have no chemistry whatsoever that are supposed to get married by the end of this movie. They got nothing going on. It's just a bunch of filler. Everything about this movie just feels filler, man.